Hello and welcome everyone back to another round of the Virtual Drift Championship. This is round 4 here at Manfeild Auto Course. With me as always is Tanner. What's up, Tanner?
What's going on, Craig? It's another wonderful Saturday and another wonderful round of Virtual Drift Championships here at Manfeild. I love this circuit. I'm so excited to see it back, and I can't wait to see what our drivers can do for us today.
Absolutely. One of our toughest courses to date, I think. Such a roller coaster of a course. We'll actually go straight to the line map for today. A 40 roll around that first turn. And then as soon as they get past that yellow line indicated on the track, they can put their foot to the floor and accelerate into that first turn at outside zone 1, clip 1. And hold the outside zone for quite some time there, maybe even a little past it, to stay on that outside and leave enough room for your next outside zone, clip 2, which is actually a little bit off of that rumble strip. Lead needs to use the white line indicated on the track rather than going all the way out there to that rumble strip. That way, for later on in the battles, enough room will be left for that chase driver. And then down into your first inside clip at clip 3, holding around midline in between clip 3 and clip 4, your next inside clip, back out to the outside for clip 5, and then into your next decel zone for clip 6, your last outside zone, all the way up there on the top of the bank there in that last turn, and then down to the next inside clip, your final clip, clip 7, back to the outside across that finish line. Again, tough course. Last time we used it was for our wild card event, where some of the drivers driving today received their license.
Yeah, it definitely was. And again, even back then, it was a wonderful time watching these drivers drive. And like you said, it's a roller coaster. It's precision driving the whole way through. And I think these guys are really going to put on a show for us the way they've been driving the last 3 rounds.
Absolutely, it has been insane. Each round into the 90s to make it into the top 32. And with over 60 drivers showing up each round is just insane.
And that's just it, the amount of drivers, everything like that. And but it does look like we have our first qualifier at the line and ready to go there, Craig, if you want to take it away.
Absolutely. Brandon Patrick at the line, ready to go. Kick things off for us here for round 4. Again, Brandon returning back to us in that Ferrari. Triple F performance. He's off. Entering in nicely, holding momentum. Nice line here. Look at that, right on that white line and down to the inside clip. Midline through there, a little over on that inside clip, but fills the next outside zone. Nice final transition there for the inside clip. And finishing off strong, Brandon Patrick.
Yeah, Brandon really showing out there for the top of Group 1, having to set a staple. And that transition in that last inside clip was really snappy and nice, with a total of 91 for his first run there. So we have our next driver sitting on the line, Roman Kotodenko. Roma sitting there in that beautiful Toyota Supra, which is starting to become a very popular car here, and we love seeing them. Let's see what Roma can do as he comes around that 40 mile an hour, hits the line, gets on throttle, initiating in onto that outer zone, looking good, hanging on to it. Transitions into outer zone 2, looking good through that first inside clip as well. Roma hanging on, keeping that angle, holding the right line as he comes into that final inside clip. It could have been a bit deeper, but overall, very good run there from Roma.
Yeah, not a bad way to start things out for himself there. 85.7 on the board for Roman. We're on to Connor Christensen. Connor switching to the Supra this season and looking good in it, and looking good here in round 4 through first turn. Nicely through outside zone 2 and down to that inside clip. Nice line there through that middle section of the course, filling these outside zones. Good transition all the way up there, but goes wide for the last and final inside clip across that finish line.
Christensen missing out on that last inside clip, but not hurting the score too much, coming in with an 88. And again, with that last corner being banked, you really got to make sure you pitch the car in, you get it right, so you don't hang up on the top end of that bank and you manage to shoot the car down. As we have our next driver coming around the 40-mile-an-hour roll gear, Daniel Mora in the beautiful BMW. Let's see what he lays down for us here. Initiating in, lots of speed there coming through outer zone 1 as he transitions to outer zone 2 now. Looking good so far. Could have been a bit deeper on that first inside clip. He transitions to the second one again, just taking that midline, hitting that second hash mark, transitioning now, oh, dropping tire off of that final outer zone, and just making the run work and getting the points on the board.
And an 80.3 on the board, so not too bad of a score, but at the same time, it's been in the 90s each and every round this season. So he'll definitely want to probably better that 80-point run. Darius Ostraka off for his first run of the day. Back in that E92 and looking good through turn 1. Big angle through outside zone 2. And just flying through the middle section of this course. Nice and final transition. And he drops a couple of tires. Still manages to pick up that inside clip. But will be some deductions there for dropping those tires.
Sure will be, but Darius was really holding a lot of speed through there, just trying to throw it all down. That was a very speedy run, but getting a total of an 86.3. As we have Brandon Williams leaving the line now in that beautiful S15 of his. A little bit of a car change up there for Brandon Williams. Good to see it. Let's see what he can do with the new car over the JZX. Throwing it in. Dropping some tire out of outer zone 1 there, but making it work. Missing out on outer zone 2, diving a little too early into that inside clip. He does make the 2 inside clip work, so as he pushes out, drops more tire on the next outer zone, but holds it through that final transition. That final transition looked great, but I doubt the rest of the course, the judges won't be happy with that.
Yeah, some deductions coming, and just switching to that car too, 72.7 on the board. Yeah, recently switching to the S15, coming from the Chaser that he's always been in. And here's Samuel Cuddy switching to an F22 now. V8 powered. Some sort of V8 in there. Filling that first outside zone nicely. Good transition, picks up the inside clip. Nice and smooth here through the course. Great transition to finish things off. And across that finish line, Samuel Cuddy.
Yeah, Samuel there doing pretty well for his first run out. Couple not mistakes, just could have been a little tighter in a few different places with an 85.3 for his first run. As we have the man himself and hopefully his redemption round, Tikon Pileski, getting knocked out in the top 16 and 32 there for the last 2 rounds. So let's see if he puts down a good qualifying run here today and makes up for these last 2 rounds. Initiating in, looking good through outer zone 1, transitioning into outer zone 2, looking dialed. Could have been a little bit deeper there on that inside clip, but makes it work on the second one. Pushes all the way out to the track edge for the second to last outside zone, and now just looking super dialed for the last 2 clips of the course.
Yeah, that last and final outside zone there, all the way up to the edge. 91.7 on the board for Tikon Pileski, and we're quickly off with Christian Petrov, his first run of the day. On the throttle. Good initiation. Using all of the course through those first outside zones and nicely through the inside clip here. And the final transition, nicely done with that last and final outside zone. Christian Petrov across the finish line for his first run.
Yeah, Christian really throwing it down there, looking great and just bashing that rev limiter in that car, getting a score of 88. We'll see how Jordan El Nasser does now in the Dodge Viper. Always nice to see him returning in the beautiful Dodge, and let's see if he can get some good points down today. Initiates in. Fill in outer zone 1 nicely, holding a good line and angle so far. Transitioning into outer zone 2, almost a little too late, missing out a little bit on that inside clip. Makes the second one work though as he pushes out, not quite filling that outer zone. Does a huge snap transition, but makes it work and holds it all the way through to the end.
Yeah, not too bad from Jordan El Nasser there for his first run of the day. But it is going to be quite a low score, 75 on the board. Just not fully committed through the run there. Was able to pick up some of those zones and clips, but we'll certainly have to better that score. Timur Lipsky joining the Virtual Drift Championship this season in this round. First run for himself. And look at there, filling the first outside zone. Smooth transition across outside zone 2. Nicely done on the inside clips. And Timur Lipsky looking dialed here, and as I say that, he drops just one tire there and across that finish line.
You know, Timur Lipsky there really throwing it in, holding that angle all the way through to the finish line. It is only an 84, but he looked flashy doing it. So we'll see if he can better that on his second run. And speaking of second runs, we're back around to the top. Brandon Patrick in the Ferrari, heading out, sitting on a 91. Only 2 drivers so far in the 90s. So we'll see if he can better his 91 as he initiates into outer zone 1. Looking good so far. Holding a lot of speed and good angle as he comes through outer zone 2. Perfectly grabbing that inside clip. Now grabbing the next inside clip as well. Looking good out there. This looks like a very good run here from Brandon Patrick as he comes across the line for that second qualifying run.
Yeah, Brandon Patrick just looking so comfortable in that Ferrari. 91.3, so betters that first score by 0.3 points, and we're quickly on to a Roman. Second run. Might want to better that 85.7. And fast initiation and too much speed. He drops some tires on that first turn. Misses outside zone 2, but grabs these next inside clips and is back on the right line. In that last outside zone. Very smooth for that inside clip, but some deductions coming for that score.
Yeah, Roma sitting on that 85.7. He needed to improve, but I do give him commitment level for actually holding it through after having that tire off for so long and just keeping the speed and the momentum to make it work for the rest of the course. So 72.3 there for Roma's second run. So we'll see if that'll be enough with that 85.7 to get into the top 32. Sitting on an 88, Connor Christensen in his Toyota Supra initiating in. Filling that first outer zone. Looking good so far, transitioning over outer zone 2 and grabbing that inside clip. Holding a good line so far. Keeping good through the next inside zone and outer zone. One last transition through the final outer zone. Hitting that inside clip nice and tight. Holding it right through to the end. Very good run from Connor.
Yeah, looking a little more settled there in his second run, and a 92.3 on the board. And that's going to put him into the number 1 position here in Group 1. Daniel Mora off for his second run of the day. Needs to better an 80.3. And rolling through the initiation, holding momentum. Good line there through the first turn. Transitions for outside zone 2. And picking up that second inside clip. Filling that zone. Oh, and he drops 2 tires off the back of that last and final outside zone, but finishes off the run anyway.
Yeah, it's always nice to see the commitment. Even though it dropped, he stuck with it, put his foot down, does get a 73 for his second score. So again, he's another driver that's going to have to hope that 80 is going to be enough to get in. Darius Ostreka sitting on 86.3 in that beautiful BMW. Let's see what he can do here. Initiates into outer zone 1. Looking good so far. Transitions into outer zone 2. Filling the zone completely. Maybe a little too inside on that first inside clip and the second one. but still holding a good line and angle as he transitions into the last outer zone and looks nice and clean through it as he finishes out his second run.
Yeah, looking to better that 86.3, and he just might do it with that run there. And a 90 on the board. 4 90s on the board now through Group 1. And we're on to Brandon Williams for his second run. Sitting on that 72.7. Enters in nicely, but starts to leave that zone early. Not leaving enough room there for that outside zone 2. And flying through the middle section, and he goes off just a tad there. We're at second to last outside zone. Picks up that inside clip. Nice. And across that finish line.
Yeah, overall, not a horrible run there for Brandon. I think that will improve his score from that 72, and it does up to a 79. Still probably not the numbers he wants to see, though, for qualifying. Sitting on an 85.3. This man here, Samuel Cuddy. Switching over to the BMW. Let's see what he can do for his second run. Again, sitting on that 85.3. Initiates in, looking good through outer zone 1. He pushes down, transitions for outer zone 2, and grabs that inside clip. Now to take one more before pushing out to the next outer zone. Looking good here so far. Really just keeping the car exactly where it kind of needs to be. Could have been a bit tighter on those inside clips, but making it work and looking good out there doing it. That last transition was really nice.
Samuel looking good in that F22. Again, recently switching to it in the 89.7, putting him in 5th place through Group 1. And we're on to T-Con. Coming off a 91.7, recently knocked down to 2nd after Connor Christensen's 92.3. See if T-Con can take back that number 1 qualifying position. And look at there on that track edge, flying through the course now. Down to that inside clip. Smooth transition. Quite a bit of angle there coming into the second last outside zone. And he keeps things going across that finish line.
Wow. That was a run. A run indeed. 93.7 for T-Con Pileski, putting him at the top of the leaderboard for qualifying so far. Sitting on an 88. This man here, Christian Petrov, looked really good on his first run. Let's see what he can do for his second. Can he improve on that 88 as he initiates in? Looking okay through outer zone 1, transitions through 2, and brings it down nicely into that inside clip, holding a good line and angle through the next inside clip and through that outer zone, transitioning to the final outer zone, and holds it through, maybe touching that inside clip a bit, but making it work and looking good.
Yeah, he just might improve on that 88. And if this round's going to be like other rounds, drivers want to be into the 90s, 88.3, so it does better it, but by just 0.3 points. And we're on to Jordan for his second run, coming off that 75. Definitely wants to better the score. And he's off for run 2. Filling outside zone 1. Flying through the course here. Tons of angle there and has to back out of it. Across that inside clip. Picks up the next one. And again, this Viper is just flying through the course here. Drops just a smidgen of a tire. But finishes out his second run. Run almost looked like it was in fast forward.
Yeah, definitely. He was absolutely pedal to the metal on that second run. An 84.7 for his second run does improve on that 75, but I think having to pull out all that angle that he added in is the one thing that really affected his score. As we come to our last driver here of Group 1, Timur Lipski, in that nice, beautiful JZA 90 Supra, sitting on an 84. Transitioning into outer zone 2, bringing it down into that first inside clip. It's looking pretty good out here so far. Not a lot of corrections. He transitions into that final outer zone. Drops 2 tires coming into it. Holds it together and finishes out the run.
Yeah, you jinxed him, Tanner.
It's commentator's curse. We try not to do it, but sometimes it happens.
You did. But an 85.3, so he does better. The 88.4, but Group 1 done. Tikhon Pileski leading the field, 93.7. Connor Christensen, though, coming out swinging, 92.3. And Brandon Patrick with his 91.3. Darius Ostraker with a 90. Samuel Cuddy, 89.7. Christian Petrov, 88.3. Roman Kondratenko, 85.7. And Timur Lipsky, 85.3 to round out the first top 8 of the day. We'll wait on our next group of drivers to load in. They'll get a few practice runs. We'll send them off.
Yeah, another solid group coming up here for Group 2, so it will be another interesting little qualifying group. I mean, yeah, each group looks absolutely great. I think it's a great group of drivers for each one. But we'll see how they improve after seeing Group 1 go and going, oh, what can I do a little bit different to maybe get my score a bit higher and maybe knock Tikhon Pileski off that top spot.
Yeah, some drivers certainly capable of doing so here in this upcoming group. And last call being called by our head judge, Chris Wiltowski. Drivers have just one more run to do. And we line them up. Vladislav Yakulovich will start us out for Group 2. Stephen Hatcher. Caius Alunas, Alan Hines, Artem Chokov, Alexander Element joining us back, Austin Zalewski, Oliver Eppinger, Dan Dirks, and Alexander Yegard. And it looks like Vladislav is off for his qualifying run. No.
Ew. I know, I was thinking the same thing.
Miscommunication there. Yeah.
Is this it? But I didn't see the semaphore light up, but yeah.
Here he comes back to the line. Vladislav back in the BMW. Fresh auto BMW. And around that 40 roll. And on the throttle. Vladislav for run 1. And throwing that car in nicely there through outside zone 1. Good transition for outside zone 2 and picks up that inside clip nicely. Picking up some speed here through that middle section of the course. And very smooth through that last and final outside zone and down to the inside clip. Nice run from Vladislav.
Yeah, Vladislav really throwing it down. He's been a really good teammate there to Tikhon and maybe even beating him out on this one. 92.3. That is very close, but I don't think it does beat out on Tikhon Pileski's score. 93.7 for Tikhon. So very, very close there, as we are going to skip over our next driver, taking their 5-minute timeout. and not able to make it to the line. We will move over to Kea Salunas. Kea just in that his BMW. Little wagon. Bringing it down the line, initiating in. Looking good through outer zone 1, maybe dropping tire though through outer zone 1, transitioning for outer zone 2, holding good angle through that inside clip. He's got to make it work now for the second one, which he does, and holds it through to that next outer zone. Nice flick around, a little bit of dirt off of that last outer zone, but holds it together and looks pretty good out there.
Yeah, not too shabby, but will be some deductions there for those tires dropped in that last and final outside zone. 83.7 on the board, but looking better with that model update. Case on to Alan Hines, Pro Drift Academy S15, and off for his first run. Snappy initiation, filling outside zone 1. Another good transition there, picking up these inside clips. Really flying through the course, but with good angle. Oh, and he does drop some tires there through that last and final outside zone. Unfortunate one there for Alan Hines.
Yeah, just that right at the end drops that tire after such a blazing run, but we'll see how much that actually hurts his score once the final numbers come in. And just below T-Con with a 93, and Alan still has one more run to clean it up as we move over now to Artem Cholkov in that big wide body Toyota Supra. We'll see what he can pull off here as he gets to go on throttle and start his first run of qualifying, initiating in, looking good through outer zone 1, holding it all the way through, going into outer zone 2, filling it completely, grabbing that inside clip. Looking good on his line here and holding his angle as he transitions for that last outer zone, grabs it, does not drop a tire, and holds it all the way through. And Artem throwing it down in that Supra.
Looking good for his first run of the day, and a 94.3 on the board for Artem, and he takes the #1 spot. On to Alexander Element, returning back to us, this time in a 370Z, along with his teammate Alexander Sevruk. Element previously doing well here at Manfeild, and looking good here through turn 1. Snappy transition down to that inside clip. Filling that next zone. Really flying through the course here is Alexander. And back out to that outside, cross the finish line. Alexander Element, welcome back.
Yeah, what a way to say, hey, I'm back, and we always missed you, Alexander. It's great to see you back, and good to know you still got it. Putting down a 92 for his first run. As we have Austin Zaleski going out now in his Toyota Supra. Not as wide as the last one that we saw, but we'll see how he gets down. Initiating into outer zone 1, holding it nicely through outer zone 1, carrying lots of speed, transitioning through outer zone 2. Gets it nice into that inside clip as he makes the transition for the next one. Not as deep into that inside clip, but fills all of the outer zone, makes the transition happen. Holds it nicely around that final hairpin.
Yeah, good run there from Austin Zalewski. Looking more and more comfortable in that Supra. And a 92.7 on the board, and that'll put him into 4th position. Oliver Effinger up next in another Toyota Supra. Again, through that 40 roll and onto the throttle. And initiating in nicely, filling that outside zone. And smooth through outside zone 2 and down to that first inside clip. Good transition across there. Holding that momentum. Ooh, and he's gonna go wide for that inside clip, dropping some tire on that last and final outside zone. But if he can dial that in, he'll have a strong score on the board.
Yeah, it was almost all coming together perfectly for him, and then just at the last moment goes too high up in that final outer zone, drops that tire, unsettles the car, and just keeps him out wide, especially that being a bank turn. We got to be prepared for it, but he makes it through, gets an 85 on the board, as Dan Dirks now gets ready for his run and throws it into outside zone 1. And Dirk's really lighting it up in the BMW here as he transitions through 2 and grabs that inside clip perfectly. Gets the next one done as well, pushes out to that outer zone, one last transition, holds the angle, drops a bit of tire, but it doesn't upset him too much, and he manages to grab that inside clip. So deduction coming, but how big, only the judges will tell.
And an 87.7 on the board. We're on to Alexander Yegard. New livery for Alexander. Joining JX team. And using all of his momentum, but maybe too much of it. Drops some tire on the outside of outside zone 1, but he's back on the correct line now through these inside clips, all the way out there to that track edge. And a little shallow through that last and final outside zone, but he finishes off the run strong.
Yeah, a lot of things there for Alexander to kind of work on and pick up for his second run, coming in with a 76.7. So definitely a run he will want to improve. Going back up to the top with Vladislav Yakulovich sitting on that 92.3. Could Vladislav take that top spot from Artem, who now has a 94.3? Initiating in is Vladislav, looking good in outer zone 1, right along that track edge through outer zone 1, transitions through 2, carrying lots of speed, grabs that inside clip. He's got to make it work for this next one, and he does. Grabs it beautifully, goes right to track edge for that second to last outer zone, but not as deep into the final outer zone as he could have been, but holds it together and gets those points on the board.
Yeah, still sitting safely on the 92.3, but puts an 89 on the board for his second run. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Steven Hatcher is going to make it for his 2 runs. We're on to Caius for his second run, coming off an 83.7. Again, previous rounds requiring a 90 to get into top 32. He might want to better this 83.7, and here's his chance. Throwing that car in. Looking good through turn 1 so far here. The transition picks up throttle quickly. And not quite on the right line there. He's going to miss inside clip 2, but fill the next outside zone. And fill in the last one nicely through the last and final inside clip. And he finishes run 2.
Yeah, he was looking really solid there just till he missed that one inside clip, but I don't think that'll hurt him too bad, and it doesn't. He does improve to an 89.3, so good to see as Alan Hines getting a little squirrely off the line there as he comes for his second run. 93 is sitting on. The score to beat right now is 94.3 to take that top spot. Initiates into outer zone 1. Looking good so far for Alan Hines, transitioning into outer zone 2, going a little too deep though, and taking out that inside clip as he moves to the second one, holding that speed. He is flying through this course. Alan Hines makes that final outer zone and doesn't drop tire this time, and completes this course very quickly.
Yeah, really going after it, trying to better that 93. I think he's going to fall shy of it here. 92 on the board for Alan Hines, so he'll stay in third position. We're on to Artem Chukov. 94.3 on the board currently. Number 1 qualifying position. There he goes for run 2. Trying to throw that car in, but he's the first to catch a piece of that wall, but he's going to keep things going. It is going to be an unfortunate 0 on the board, but still 94.3 going for some extra tricks here. Artem Chokov again, 94.3. He'll stay there for now.
I mean, good try there from Artem. It was sad. We were hoping for another banker run, but we'll stick with the 94.3. That'll be good. Alexander Element heading off for his second run, 92. after coming back here to the VDC for this round. Let's see what he can lay down for his second run in that 370Z of his. So he initiates in, looking good there through outer zone 1, holding a good line and angle, transitions into outer zone 2 and brings it down, grabs that inside clip. Looking good so far, grabbing the second inside clip as well. Been a tad deeper on that second to last outer zone, but beautiful final 2 clips and holding it together. That was a good run there from Mr. Element.
Absolutely. And look at there, a 94.7 on the board. And he's now in #1 position. We move on. Austin Zalewski, 92.7. Entering in strong there. Filling outside zone. 2 and down to the inside clip. Tons of angle there. Still picking up the next inside clip, filling that zone. Austin Zalewski here on a burner. Ooh, and out to the outside, maybe a little too soon there before crossing that finish line.
Yeah, Austin really laying it down and just throwing everything he had at that run. And he ends up with that 91.7 for his second run. So not besting his 92.7, but a good tiebreaker score if he needs it. Oliver Eppinger sitting on an 85, going to need to improve that score. Looking at how the rest of these groups, at least this group, has shut it out. Coming through outer zone 1 and transitioning into 2, tons of angle, goes super down off of that inside clip and takes it out completely, and then misses out on the next one entirely. Transitioning to that final outer zone, just pushing too hard and trying to be too committed and missing out on a lot, and that's going to be a pretty low score on that run there.
Yeah, unfortunately, just snapping to too much angle there through outside zone 2. The score reflects on to Dan Dirks for his second run. 87.7 for run 1. Again, probably wants to better. A little late to pick up the throttle there across that line, but he enters nicely into outside zone 1, leaves the outside a little bit, but transitions right through outside zone 2. Stand on the left side of that white line, but way offline there. He does work the car out to that outside zone. There he goes across that finish line again, going after it, trying to better that 87.7.
Yeah, definitely trying to, but I don't think he's going to be able to, and that's an 85 there for Dan Dirks. Just a little bit too much commitment in some places and some things to dial in, but we'll see if that's enough to maybe get him into the top 32 today. Alexander Jaeger sitting on a 76.7. He's got to make up the points here. This is our final run here for Group 2, looking good through outer zone 1 and 2. Missing out a little bit on that first inside clip as he transitions to the second one, which he does grab nicely. Could have been a bit deeper in that second outer zone, but holds it together through the last outer zone, but just can't get the car to go down to grab that final inside clip. And finishes out his run.
And an 88 on the board to finish out a Group 2. So 2 groups of qualifying down. And we'll load in Group 3 here. And trying to check with the judges there. I know a couple of people noticed in chat already we may have had a score change. As Artem was up on our board. Correct? I'm not going crazy, am I, Tanner?
I know Artem with a 94.3 as I see it here. And that 94.7 from would have been Alexander Element, so he should still be on the board.
Yeah, so it seems like he's still in our sheet itself, but not on our graphic.
It was just such a good run, he broke the graphic.
That's what happened. See if we can get Dion to sort that in the background while we let Group 3 take their practice runs before we send them off for their qualifying runs of the day. And exciting runs so far, but maybe not as many 90s as before.
Yeah, I think Manfeild was maybe the nail in the coffin for a lot of drivers. We always knew it was a difficult course, but maybe the drivers were maybe getting too comfy, too complacent, and now this course kind of throwing them off a little bit. And we like to see that. We like to see them getting challenged and really bring out all their skills. So we'll see. There's still, we still have Group 3, then Group 4, and Group 5 to get through. So there's still a lot of drivers. A lot can happen in that time. So, I mean, we won't put all the chickens in the basket yet. And if you are just tuning in and joining us here for Group 3, just want to thank you all for joining. Again, we're about halfway through qualifying now. We have 5 groups today, so this will kind of be that mid-group. Always something good to watch while you're probably sitting in queue for the Diablo 4 beta. I know I was all day yesterday.
Another strong group. Every group is strong here in the Virtual Drift Championship, but Daniel Andreev, Bakaris Alukas, Victor Alves, Kazuki Fukushi, Daryl Diaz, Victor Lacheras, Dimitri Mitten, Luciano Canero, Nick Novak, and Augusto Federa.
Three-hour wait. Oh, wow.
Oof.
Chat there. Yeah. Oh, man. I was lucky enough to only have a 47-minute wait, and that was one time and one time only. But, with all of you, if you haven't heard and you are playing that game, be careful with your graphics card. I had 2 friends that lost their graphics card to that game yesterday.
Yeah, it seems like it's gigabyte cards and then a specific cutscene that just drives frame rate to 1 billion, and there goes your card.
Yeah, sadly my buddy lost his 3080, but luckily enough he paid for the extended warranty and he got a brand new one this morning, so
there you
he'll
go.
be back playing later.
All right, and Daniel Andreev to start things out for Group 3. And around that 40 roll and on the throttle once crossing that line. And snappy initiation from Daniel there all the way out to the edge. And looking good here into this power alley section. Very smooth from Daniel here. And across that finish line, Daniel Andreev coming out swinging for run 1.
Yeah, I almost taken the words right out of our mouth there. I mean, that outer zone 1, like I can't believe he didn't drop a tire there. That was the limit of the track edge for outer zone 1, and a 92.3 for his first run. So very good job indeed from Daniel. As we move over to Vakaris in that GT86. Let's see what he can lay down here for his first run here at Manfeild. Initiates in, looking good through outer zone 1. Nice angle here as he makes the transition into outer zone 2 and grabs that inside clip. Another inside clip to grab there as he pushes out to that outer zone. Makes the transition work for the final outer zone. Tries to get that car to cooperate and get down to that final inside clip. Doesn't quite get there, but finishes out the run.
Finishes it out indeed. And an 88.3 on the board for Vakaris, and we're on to Victor Alves. Turning back in that S15. On throttle 4, run 1. Initiating in, not quite filling outside zone 1, off the edge a little bit and a little late on the transition. He's a little off on that inside clip, but picking up momentum here through that power alley section, and transitions maybe a little soon, so he falls a little shallow of that last and final outside zone. Victor Alves for run 1.
Yeah, Victor Alves thought it was an okay run and 85 on the board. So let's hope he improves that as these scores are quickly wrapping up into getting into that 90 area. So, you know, Victor Alves always looking good out there, but 85 for him as we move over to Kazuki Fukushi in the beautiful Evo 10. Look at that. Gorgeous car. Always bringing out some cool cars. Initiates into outer zone 1, looking good through outer zone 1 so far. Transitions into outer zone 2. Brings it down and grabs that inside clip nicely. Transitions and grabs that next inside clip and fills the outer zone. One last transition, drops some tire into that outer zone, but does grab that inside clip and holds a good line through it. Let's see what kind of score Kazuki can put down.
And an 88.3 on the board. We're on to Daryl Diaz. Back in the Miata. Across that line. Initiating in all the way out there to that track edge. Through outside zone 1 and into 2, down to the inside clip. Nicely as Daryl Diaz in this Miata flying through the course here. Last and final transition. Tons of angle really backwards there. And down to the inside clip.
Daryl Diaz really getting at it there. Throwing down some fun stuff as he pulls off an 88. 88 there for Daryl Diaz. We move over to Victor Lacheris now.
Oh no, did he? Hello?
Did I say Victor Lacheris? I meant Dimitri Mitten.
Yeah, that... Wow, unfortunate. Yeah, that's going to be a 0.
We do know what happened. Yes. Yeah, we do know what happened there. Sorry to interrupt you, Craig. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Dimitri Mitten, yeah, as you said, now off for his first run. An unfortunate one from previous driver, but here we go. Dimitri entering in nicely, filling outside zone 1. Holding that momentum. Quite a long decel there. It took a while to get back on throttle, but there he goes through second inside clip. Last and final transition. All the way up there to that track edge. And good through that last and final turn.
Even with a couple hiccups, Dimitri Mitten there with an 87.3. As we have our next driver, Luciano Canero, in the rotary-powered Corvette. Slowly makes his way around that 40 mile an hour. Hits the yellow line and gets on throttle. Let's see what kind of run Luciano can lay down for us in his Corvette. Initiating in, looking good through outer zone 1. Transitioning through outer zone 2, holding a good line. Good angle so far as well through that inside clip. Grabbing the next one as well. Putting it right to the track edge and making that transition stick. And grabs that inside clip as well. Luciano looking good out there. And puts down a very solid first run.
Yeah, absolutely. In that Corvette, waiting on the score. 94.7 on the board for Luciano. And that's going to put him in number 1 position. We're on to Nick Novak for his first run of the day. His E46. And entering in. Car is planted through that first outside zone. Looking nice through outside zone 2 and down to the inside clip. Nick Novak dialed in here for his first run. Tons of angle there. Last and final transition. Oh no, and he's gonna go 4 off. Unfortunate way to shut that run down. But he's got another one.
You did it to him, Craig. That was on you.
This is my fault.
That's okay. Nick still has one more run to go as we move over to the final of the first runs. Augusto Ferreira. Great to see him back. Team Excellence driver in that S15. Initiates in. Looking good through outer zone 1. Lots of angle through it, transitioning into outer zone 2. Gets down into that inside clip. Makes the transition not as deep as it could have been onto that inside clip, but makes the outside zone work. Drops a little bit of tire on that last outer zone, but grabs the inside clip. Maybe not holding enough angle to the end there.
Yeah,
That was close.
That was
Close.
That's a tough one. He is still going to get a score on the board, 88.3. And we're back around to Daniel Andreev for run 2 of Group 3. 92.3 is what he's currently sitting on. And away he goes for run 2. And entering in nicely. Very nice line through turn 1 down to the inside clip. Picking up momentum here. Just locked into the angle here, but drops a tire there through that last and final outside zone. Goes wide for the inside clip, but he finishes out that second run. Again, trying to better than 92.3.
Yeah, it had the markings to beat the 92.3, but I think that tire drop really solidified it and drops it down. He ends up with an 89.3 for his final score, and sitting on an 88.3 is Vacaris here in the GT86. Let's see if he can get a better score down, initiating into outer zone 1. Looking good. Had to play around with the wheel there a little bit to keep the car settled as he makes it into outer zone 2. Grabs that inside clip. Looking good so far, holding the line. Getting through the next outer zone, makes the final transition work. And this time looking good around that final inside clip. We'll see if that's enough to improve on that 88.3.
And it's actually going to fall short, 86.3, and we're on to Victor Alves, really sitting on the 85. We watch these scores creep up, and that cutoff score is going to end up getting higher and higher. Victor Alves for run 2 here, flying through turn 1. Nicely done through outside zone 2 and down to inside clip 1. Turning up the heat here. Tons of angle down to the inside clip, but not quite going to make it to the outside to finish off the run.
Yeah, very close there for Victor Alves, but he does improve on that score of his, a 90.7. We move back over to Kazuki Fukushi, sitting on an 88.3. Let's see what he can do here. Initiates in, drops tire though in that Evo through outer zone 1. Transitions into outer zone 2 and grabs that inside clip nicely. He brings it around there for that next inside clip and sets up for the outer zone. Transitions and makes it work to the final outer zone, and that inside clip looking a little cleaner there. Maybe enough to improve it.
Yeah, I think so. Does drop a little bit of tire here and there. Ooh, but falls just a little short. 88 on the board. And we're on to Daryl Diaz. And away he goes for run 2. Looked good through run 1. And flying through turn 1 here. A little bit on the inside there before making that transition, but picking up speed through this power alley section. Last and final transition. Tons of angle there. And back to the outside for run 2.
Yeah, Daryl looking very committed there. Making it work with a couple things here and there, but an 87.7 on the board. So not fully beating that 88, but very close to it, as we have Victor Lacheris making it to the line. He did have a technical issue the last time, and that's why he pulled off. But now getting that run in, initiating into outer zone 1 and looking good through outer zone 1 and making it work for outer zone 2. This is a one and done run for Victor, so he's got to make it everything come together as he pushes out to that second to last outer zone. And looking good is Victor Lacheris, pushing hard and holding it all the way through to the finish.
Yeah, with the pressure on as well after getting a 0, having to pull off, and a 91 on the board for Victor Lacheris. And here we are with Dimitri Mitten in his second run, coming off the 87.3. Again, might want to better that. We've got a few more groups left to go. Dimitri Mitten throwing that super in, filling outside zone 1. And again, a little bit on the right-hand side of the track, on the opposite side of that white line. But he continues on, really flying through the course now. Last and final transition, filling the last outside zone. Nicely done with the inside clip and across that finish line.
So Dimitri Mitten waiting for his score to come in, and 91 for that final run. So definitely beating that 87.3. So now Luciano Canero got a 94.7 on his first run, matching that of our current leader. So it all comes down to this run to see if he can actually get in front there. And initiates in, could have been a bit deeper into outer zone 1 off that initiation, but holds it together through outer zone 2, grabs that inside clip as well, and makes it work for the second one. Just a nice smooth run here from Luciano, throwing it into that final outer zone, grabbing that inside clip, holding a great line. We'll see what that does for his second run.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. A little hiccup there through turn 1, and it's going to be a 92.3, so it looks like he's going to remain in that number 1 position. Here we go with Nick Novak coming off that unfortunate 0, dropping all 4 tires off the back of the last and final turn. And he's flying through turn 1 here and run 2. Little bobble there with the angle, really pouring it on now, filling these outside zones. Takes his time there with that last and final one, and back to the outside. Points on the board for Nick Novak.
Yeah, hopefully it's enough to see him in top 32 later today, but we're just waiting on a few more scores to pop in there. And an 86.7, so it might be close. We'll see how the rest of the day pans out. So we move over to our last driver here of Group 3, Augusto Ferreira. Sitting on that 88.3. See what he can do for his second run here. Initiates in. Looking good through outer zone 1, but it hits the wall. Wow.
Oh my goodness. You know, thankfully it's virtual, but I'm so sorry. Yeah.
I don't know how to explain what we just witnessed.
And funny enough, the last time we ran this track, it was, I believe it was him that ran into Element or Savruk and teleported one of them through the wall. So, you know, karma does exist.
Oh man, I hope Augusto's all right. I know those kind of hits do not feel good in the sim rig. Wow.
Yeah, insane. So that is gonna wrap it up for Group 3. That is definitely a way to wrap things up there. And let me double check. I believe we're gonna need a server restart here. So we're gonna take a small commercial break here from our wonderful sponsors and partners. And we'll be right back with more qualifying. And we are back. Again, thank everyone for joining us. This is round 4 qualifying here at Manfeild Auto Course. Now Manfeild Circuit, Chris Amon. And it's been exciting so far. Some big scores up on the board. Luciano Canero with a 94.7. Alexander Element with 1 as well. But then we've got Artem Chokov there in 3rd position. Just a little hiccup in our graphic there. And then Tikhon Pileski with his 93.7. But if we look ahead here and how things are shaping up, Jordan El Nasser rounding out the top 24 with an 84.7 in our last and final scores there. Brandon Patrick with a 79.7. But we've got 2 more groups of qualifying, group 4 and 5 left to go.
Yeah, those 2 more groups, and it's going by quick. It's been a fun round so far, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Always good for some early morning laughs. That makes Well, looking like a strong group here at Group 4, and looks like our first driver is coming to the line here, Maxime Tingai.
And Maxime off, throwing that S15 in and filling outside zone 1. Nicely through outside zone 2 and down to that inside clip into this power alley section here, picking up momentum and filling that next outside zone. Really settled here as Maxime through his first run of the day. There he goes, finishing it out.
Yeah, Maxime looking really good today. And like I said, I don't know if he's gotten a lot of training over the last year, but I feel like his skills just so improved from last year to this year. And a 90.7 on the board there for Maxime. So great to see, or maybe he's finally got that card dialed in. Keo Fonseca coming at us here. Getting on power and ready to start his qualifying run. Initiates in, huge flick to angle through outer zone 1. That was crazy as we see him come through outer zone 2. Not as aggressive on the transition there, but makes it work through that first inside clip, holding it together. KO's really going for it here, doesn't drop a tire, but has to kind of shimmy the car to get into that outer zone and drop it down into that final inside clip and finishes out the run. And wow, what a quick run there from KO.
Yeah, looking pretty dialed with a ton of grip in that car. 88.3 on the board. And we move on to William Holloway returning to us in his Miata. Partnered with KMR. And off he goes for run 1. And throwing that little Miata in. Looking good through turn 1 here. Snappy transition, picks up throttle down to the inside clip. And sacrificing maybe a little bit of angle there through that power alley section, but picking up throttle on that last and final outside zone and down to the inside clip.
There was William Holloway's run, sitting on that. He got an 87 there for his run. A few things to button up for his second time out. So we have Mr. Pink Drifter himself, Marcus Lindquist, ready to come out in that beautiful 240SX of his. See what kind of run he lays down. Initiates in, looking good, but into the wall goes Marcus Lindquist and spins out hard. And that'll be a 0 on his run.
Yeah, an unfortunate one and another victim to the wall, but this time not phasing through it, so that's a plus. And he's got another run left to go. Masashi Yoshida off now for his first run of the day. Here he is, that V8 powered Skyline of his looking good through turn 1. A little hesitant on that first transition, but then gets down to these inside clips nicely. A little too far on the inside for inside clip 2, and snappy transition for the last and final outside zone, and finishing things off.
Yoshida looking really dialed in there, and it's always great to see that R33 out. And a new livery, if I'm not mistaken there, which looks beautiful. 89.3 for Masashi Yoshida as we move over to Brandon Gardner in the Nissan Z. It's the power down, initiates in outer zone 1. Looks good through all of outer zone 1 as he comes down to outer zone 2. Makes the transition work and just grazes that inside clip as he comes through the second inside clip and pushes out to that outer zone. Makes the transition work for that final outer zone and gets pretty decent on that final inside clip as well. Overall, a great run from Brandon and very quick.
And a 92.3 on the board. That'll put him right into that top 8. And here is Zach O'Sullivan, current championship point leader, turning it back in that Sim Magic Supra. And looking good here through outside zone 1. Flying through the course now down to the inside clip. Picking up momentum, using all of that course, maybe a little bit too far on the outside, but picks up the inside clips, and he's gonna go wide for this last and final turn, dropping a couple of tires. So some deductions coming for his first run.
Yeah, Zach getting an 86 there on his first run, so something he's going to want to improve and just to hope maybe put him up a little higher into the top 32 if he gets in there as we move on to Shoma Takaya. In that 180SX front-ended S14. Initiating into outer zone 1, looking good through outer zone 1. Transitions now into outer zone 2 and sets up for that inside clip and does it nicely. Transitions for the next one to push out to the outer zone. Holding a good line. Lots of angle coming into that outer zone. Has to make a small adjustment to make sure he doesn't go too far inside on the inside clip, but pushes out and finishes out the run.
And an 88 on the board, and we have our cutoff score now 80.3 currently to make it into the top 32. Daniel Moore rounding out that top 32. So we wait to send Alexander Sevruk. And here we go. Alexander Sevruk. And around that 40 rolling on to the throttle for his first run of the day. And first run of the season finally returning to us. Along with teammate Alexander Element. Element earlier. Big score, 94.7 on the board. And Sevruk looking good here through his first run as well. Very dialed is Alexander. And across that finish line.
Wow, Sevruk coming out swinging for that first run. Looked beautiful out there and gets a 94. What a run there from Alexander Sevruk, and great to see you back. Maxime out for their second run, 90.7. Sitting on the board. Will he improve? We'll find out as he gets on throttle and initiates into outer zone 1. Looking good through outer zone 1 so far. Holding that line, getting through outer zone 2 and coming down, grabbing that inside clip nicely, making the transition work. A nice smooth transition as he snaps it into that final outer zone, just grazing the track edge and looking good out there. Maxime Tingai finishes out qualifying.
And with a 94 on the board as well, bettering that first score. And that's going to move him up into the top 32. Kale Fonseca off for his second run, 88.3. Is currently where he sits as we watch that cutoff score get higher and higher. Now 84.7 as Kale enters in a little shallow through outside zone 1. And then a little bit across that white line for that outside zone 2. Really flying through the course here. Last and final transition all the way out to that track edge. And there he goes across that finish line, trying to better the 88.3, but he might fall short there.
Yeah, I mean, he looked solid, but it just seemed like even though he was committed, the car wasn't going in the spots he needed it to, and he finishes out with an 86.3. So we'll gotta hope that's enough for him to get into qualifying with still one more group remaining. But sitting on an 87, William Holloway in the Mazda Miata. Let's see what he can throw down for his second run. Initiates into outer zone 1, looking good so far. Almost thought he dropped a tire there at the start. Snappy transition through outer zone 2 to that first inside clip. Looking good here so far. Really pushing hard in the Miata as he comes into that final outer zone. Has to make an adjustment so he doesn't go too far into that inside clip, but does finish out the run.
He does, trying to better the 87, but he matches it perfectly. 87 on the board for his second score of the day. And we're on to Marcus. After Marcus put it into the wall there in turn 1. And needs to put a score down here. Throws that car in, maybe a little early there. Yeah, he's going to leave the outside zone early as well. Makes that first transition and then down way on the inside for that first inside clip. Trying to get back online, drops a little tire there and fills that last outside zone nicely and finishes off the run. So points on the board for Marcus.
Yeah, and I mean, at least he got the points in, a 76.7. Maybe just that wall hit from the first run spooked him, and he just tried to make the run work and salvage what he could out of it. But off to our next driver, Masashi Yoshida, sitting on that 89.3 in the R33, initiates in, and looking good through outer zone 1. Lots of angle through it as transitions into outer zone 2, maybe transitioning a little late there as he comes through that first inside clip and looking good, grabbing that second one and pushing out to the outer zone. One more outer zone to go. He's pretty off course there, dropping 2 tires, but makes it work and grabs that inside clip and finishes out strong.
Yeah, a couple of hiccups here and there, but currently safe with the 89.3, but 91.7 on the board, so he does better, and we're off to Brandon Gardner, currently sitting on a 92.3. And he's off. Good initiation there from Brandon, filling that first outside zone. First transition is nice as well, down to the inside clip. On the correct line there through the power alley section and filling the next outside zone. Last and final transition and looking good through this last and final turn and crossing that finish line.
Yeah, very nice run indeed there from Brandon Gardner, 93.3. Now over to Zach O'Sullivan, someone that needs to improve, our current points leader. So if he wants to see competition today, he's got to step it up. Sitting on an 86. Let's see what he can do for his second run. Gets on throttle and initiates in. Holding a good angle through outer zone 1. Transitions through outer zone 2 and grabs that inside clip. Maybe just knocking it a little bit there with the front bumper as he makes the transition to the next inside clip. Grabbing that outer zone beautifully. Makes the transition work. Doesn't go off this time. Grabs that inside clip and finishes out the run.
Yeah, probably needed to better that 86, and he does so with a 91.7 on the board. And we're quickly on to Shoma Takaya, currently sitting on his 88 for run 1. And he is off for run 2. Little sluggish there to get going, but he enters in and drops just a little bit of a tire there through outside zone 1 and down into the first inside clip nicely. Little outside of inside clip 2, but back on the correct line down to the last and final one and finishing out strong.
Shoma really looking good on that run, really kind of buttoned things up and put it together and comes out with a 91. Definitely bettering that 88 of his. As we move over to Ethan. Ethan's made it to the line in that Nissan Z of his. Ethan Pikachu, as we all know him. Coming around that 40 roll. He did miss out on his last run, so he is sitting on a 0. So it's a one and done run for Ethan. Puts it through outer zone 1, looking good so far. Transitions through outer zone 2, maybe not filling it completely, but grabs that inside clip. Transitions to the next one, doing a good job here through that outer zone, putting it right on the track edge. Looking good through that final outside zone. And wow, great run here from Ethan.
Yeah, again, with the pressure on, not being able to make it to the line for his first run, and an 89.7 on the board. And we move on to Alexander Sevruk for his second run, coming off the 94. Currently sitting third. And away he goes for run 2. And throws that car into turn 1 on a very nice line here. Across outside zone 2 and down to these inside clips. But he's going to end up a bit wide. They're dropping a tire. And he's going to keep things going anyway. And across that finish line. So maybe falling a little shy of that 94.
Falling shy indeed, an 88.3 for Alexander Sevruk, but a good tiebreaker score if he so needs it on that 94 that he got on his first run.
And that's going to do it for Group 4. So our last and final group of the day is now loading in. We'll go back here. Luciano Canero, 94.7. Alexander Element, 94.7. And again, we have that sneaky 94.3 from Artem Chokov, rounding out our top 3. Which I do believe that may actually push the cutoff score a little bit higher there, and it would be Oliver Eppinger with his 85, still trying to work out a solution there to fix that score that is missing from our graphic, but it's at least still on the sheet.
So depending on how this group goes, this might be our first one that we don't see in the 90s for this season, which is pretty crazy to think that Manfeild is the one that catches out all the drivers.
Absolutely. It's definitely look like it's going to turn out to be that way, because it's all the way to 18th or 19th, I believe, since we have that missing score, will be or are currently into the 90s. Darius Ostrako with his 90 is the last person there, and then Samuel Cuddy with his 89.7. All right, so just waiting on one more driver from the group to load in, Jake Wise. And then we'll line them up. Artem Makashenko will start us out for our last and final group of qualifying.
So
we get a little bit of cloud cover there, darkening up that track. Again, if you're interested in downloading the track, it will get a public release. And just the same old Manfeild, but as you can see, a lot of updates. Still a couple of things I want to add before we do make it public, so it'll probably go public on Monday. But we'll update the servers later, put it on the old Manfeild, and that way maybe we can see, you know, that massive difference, as this is an oldie but a goodie. And it looks like we have our driver at the line ready to go. Again, for our last and final group of qualifying here. Artem Makoshenko will start us out. And the light is on. And 40 roll through this first turn here. And on throttle. Artem Makoshenko for his first run of the day, and throws that super in nicely, filling the first outside zone all the way out there to that track edge. Little hesitant on that first transition, but he picks up the inside clip, picking up that momentum now. All the way out to the outside, just dropping a quarter of a tire there, but looking good in the last and final turn and across that finish line.
Artem really throwing it down out there and really making the course his own as he throws it around and ends up with a 92 for his first run of qualifying as we move over to Hiro Minowa. Hiro in that GT86. Let's see what he can do. Initiates in. Looking good so far through outer zone 1. Really holding it together. Transitions into outer zone 2, maybe a tad late, but makes it work as he comes through that inside clip, and the second could have been a bit deeper down on that second inside clip as he transitions through the final outer zone and makes that inside clip work and finishes out his run. First run for Hiro.
Yeah, Manoa looking good there for his first run and dialing in that 8.6 and an 85 on the board as we move on to Robert Yevshinsky for his first run of the day, returning to us in this 370Z, and he's looked good all season long. And on the throttle he goes, missing his rear bumper there as he enters in, flying through outside zone 1. Good transition across down to that inside clip on a good line here as he continues on through this power alley section. Last and final transition is nicely done down to that inside clip. And Robert goes across that line for his first run of the day.
Robert really throwing it around and really putting down, and let's see what he can do. A 94.7. Woo! Matching our leader. So we'll see what Kevin Stump can do now. Kevin Stump in that Nissan Z. And initiates in. Looking good through outer zone 1. Brings it down, transitions into outer zone 2 and grabs that inside clip. One more transition here into the next inside clip, kind of taking it out with the front bumper there, but makes it work. Huge snappy transition into that final outer zone. Grabs that final inside clip and pushes out to the edge for the finish.
Yeah, good run from Kevin Stump. 86.3 on the board. And we're on to Jake Wise. His first run of the day. Yeah, last group of qualifying here. He's off. Ooh, and a bit hesitant there. Looks like he pulled the handbrake after he initiated, and he's gonna end up way wide for inside clip 1, but gets back on the correct line here through the second half of the course. Nicely done for the last and final outside zone and inside clip. There he goes, finishing out run 1.
Yeah, Jake Wise not looking fully dialed there. 76.7 for Jake Wise. So something he's really going to need to improve on that second run as we move over to Nick Hang. Nick Hang's done pretty well here for the last 3 rounds. Let's see how he does here in round 4. He initiates into outer zone 1. Looking good so far, holding a nice angle. He transitions into outer zone 2, nice and smooth. A little too far down and taken out that inside clip as he moves to the next inside clip, tries to push out to that outer zone, doesn't fill it completely, slows up a lot, and straightens out as he loses that angle and that speed and momentum coming through that final outer zone.
Yeah, an unfortunate one there from Nick Hang, but he's got another run left to go, and we move on to Wayne Ebanks, returning in his GTR, looking good in this red livery. And throwing that GTR in all over that track edge. Nice transition as well. Maybe a little late. He's going to end up on that second hash of that inside clip, but grabs the next one nicely, fills the next outside zone. Last and final transition looks good here through the final turn and across that finish line.
Wayne really throwing it out there. A couple mistakes here and there, but ends up with an 87.3 for his first run as we move over to Ernestus. Ernestus in that S chassis as well, coming around that 40-mile-an-hour roll. Putting down the first run of quali for the last group. Let's see what he can do. Ernestus coming through that outside zone 1, looking good so far. Transitions into outer zone 2 and grabs that inside clip. Could have been a bit deeper on that inside clip as he makes the second inside clip and nicely filling out that second to last outer zone, grabbing the final one and the inside clip as well. Ernestus looking pretty good out there.
And a 90.7 on the board, so pretty good indeed as we move on to Yasir Saad for his first run of the day. Last and final group here in round 4. And on throttle, Yasir Saad. And throwing that RX-7 in right on that track edge. Snappy transition, drives that car down to the inside clip. It's like he picks up that third hash, but tight to the inside clip there for inside clip 2. Last and final transition up to that track edge, down to that inside clip, and finishing out a solid run.
Solid run indeed. Very quick too. That RX-7, that rotary, just ripping around the course, and a 92 for you, sir. A very good run indeed as we move over to Mustafa Amane now. Another rotary powered car, the RX-8. Mustafa makes his way around and gets on throttle. Initiates in, looking good through outer zone 1, holding around that track edge, bringing it in, makes the transition for outer zone 2, and grabs that first clip beautifully as he moves through the second inside clip and does get it. Nice all the way to the track edge for the second to last outer zone. Could have filled that last outer zone a little bit better, but makes it work and sticks through it.
Yeah, overall, pretty solid run there from Mustafa as we wait on those judges and we see that cutoff score go higher and higher. I believe it's actually Dan Dirks there as we're still missing that score. And now Alexander Yegar with an 88, but big score there from Mustafa. So we move on to Abdulaziz Al Harbi. First run of the day, and on throttle he goes. And very nice initiation, but he leaves the outside zone a little too soon there. Puts him on the wrong line, leaving turn 1, but he's back on the correct line there. As he picks up those inside clips, fills that next outside zone. Last and final one there. And down to the inside clip. Ooh, and he's starting to over-rotate and shuts the run down. I believe that is going to be a 0.
Yeah, that'll be a 0 just due to it being sadly unchaseable. And it is sad, but it is something that happens. Got to keep control of your car, even a little bit past that finish line. Abdulrahman Al-Shetwi now sitting at the line, that RX-8. Another Mazda on the field. Let's see what he can do for the first run of qualifying. Initiates into that first outer zone. Holding it together, the rotary's screaming as he transitions just a little late there for outer zone 2, but makes it work for that inside clip and grabs the second one as he pushes all the way out to track edge for the second to last outside zone and grabs that final outside zone, but couldn't get the car down to make that final inside clip and finishes out the run.
Yeah, definitely going wide there for that last and final inside clip, but he will end up with points on the board. How many points? 88.7 on the board. We're on to Ahmed Al-Harbi for his first run. Last driver in the last and final group today. See what Al-Harbi can do. Returning in his BMW. And throwing that thing in nicely on the track edge. Good line there through turn 1 and into outside zone 2. Down to the inside clip. On a good line here. Continues on, filling the next outside zone. And plants the throttle down to the inside clip. Great run from Ahmed.
Yeah, Ahmed making it work around the course, doing what he can, putting it in the right spots. And a 95.3. So a new top leader at the very last run of the first half of the last group of qualifying here. So 95.3, that is a very solid run. And let's see if he can improve on it. Maybe get it higher. We'll see. As we wait for Artem to get to the line here, Artem Makushenko is sitting on a 92. Artem's driving that JZA80 Supra. Huge wide body on it as he gets on throttle to start his last run of qualifying. Throws it into outer zone 1, looking good so far. Makes the transition work now into outer zone 2. Grabs that inside clip. Transitions now to grab the second inside clip and gets right to the track edge for that outer zone. Makes the transition work for that final outer zone. Gets back on throttle, pushes out the track edge, and a solid run for Artem.
Yeah, coming off that 92 and still trying to better it. And a 91.7, he falls just a little shy there. And we move on to Eroa Manoa for his second run of the day. Needs to better the 85 as that cutoff score is getting higher and higher. And now not enough to make it into top 32. Looking good here through turn 1, first transition. And down to the inside clip. He does cross that white line though. A little deductions there, sacrificing some angle. And last and final transition, and he's gonna drop 2 tires, go wide for the inside clip, and finish out run 2.
But overall, a good day from Hero there as he ends up with a very nice score. 69 there for Hero. Sadly, not beating that 85, and you'll have to hope that that 85 is enough to get into the top 32 later today. Robert Kavinsky sitting on a 94.7. Let's see if he can maybe take out our new top leader with a 95.3 from Ahmed as he initiates into outer zone 1. Looking good so far is Robert as he comes through outer zone 2, but missing out a little bit on that inside clip, just offline a little bit as he makes the second one work and pushes all the way out to track edge for the second to last outer zone. Makes that last outer zone work beautifully, grabs that inside clip and holds it all the way around to the finish.
And Robert just looking so comfortable in that 370Z and a 92 on the board. We move on to Kevin Stump, 86.3, and just shy of that cutoff point now at an 88. Here he goes for run 2. Ooh, and doesn't quite get set into any good angle there through turn 1, and still kind of struggling here through the run. He's back on the right line here now, filling that next outside zone last transition, and makes another bobble there across that inside clip and finishing out run 2.
Yeah, very unstable run there from Kevin Stump. Just all over the place. Couldn't really get the car settled, in a 79.3 for his final run of qualifying. Doesn't beat out his 86.3, but we'll see if it's enough. Jake Wise now sitting on a 76.7. Jake Wise really going to have to put the pedal to the metal and get a good score in here for his final run. Doesn't really fill all of outer zone 1 there, left it a bit early as he grabs outer zone 2, misses out on that inside clip, just not putting the car where it needs to be. Now dropping a bit of tire on the second to last outer zone. And that almost spins him right out as he's off course almost for the last remainder of it, but makes it work and still sacrifices something of the run.
Yeah, still going to end up on the board with a 69.7, and we move on to Nick Hang, unfortunately coming off that 0 where he had to shut the run down in the last and final turn. Here he goes for run 2. He needs to put some points on the board, and he's going for it. Throwing that car into turn 1. The transition for outside zone 2 down to the inside clip, picking up some momentum here, grabbing that inside clip. He continues on here, last and final one, and he drops 2 tires, goes wide for the inside clip, and across that line.
But even though he dropped some tires, he still gets points on the board, but I don't think it'll be enough, and it isn't. A 75.7 for Nick Hang. I don't think that'll be enough today to get into the top 32 as we move over to Quayne Ebanks sitting on an 87.3. Let's see what he can do for his second run here. Maybe get up into those 90s as well. Tries to get through outer zone 1, but doesn't really fill it as he transitions into outer zone 2. Grabs that inside clip nicely, though. Transitions and grabs the second inside clip. Now starting to be on a better line. Drops some tires, but oh, spins out from dropping those tires.
Does he, though? So he continues on. But an unfortunate one there. Yeah, he's going to sit with the 87.3, which is not enough to make it into the top 32. And as we look at it, I believe it's actually Kale Fonseca in 32nd position as well. We're missing that go score there from Artem. So 88.3 is what is needed. Ernestes currently safe with his 90.7 and looking good through turn 1 here in run 2, but goes wide for inside clip. Ends up very wide there, but grabs the next one. Back on the correct line now through the course here, down to the inside clip. And Ernestes finishing out run 2.
Yeah, Ernestes putting down another really solid score there as he comes in with a 90.3. Almost matching his first score of the 90.7. Now we're moving on to Yasser Saad sitting on a 92. The rotary powered RX-7 gets on throttle. Let's see what he can do for the second run of qualifying. Throws it into outer zone 1, dropping just a tad of tire there. Makes the transition a little late for outer zone 2, but does make it work. Gets through that inside clip. He is on a full attack here. Really quick run from Yasser as he makes it through that final inside clip. Pushes out wide and finishes out that second run.
Yeah, trying to better the score, but he falls a little short, 88.3, so he'll remain with that 92. And we'll move on to Mustafa, currently sitting on a 91. And I believe 20th position there. Move everyone down 1. And Mustafa throwing that RX-8 in right along that track edge. Very nice line there through turn 1. Good transition down to the inside clip. Dialed in here is Mustafa. All the way out to that track edge. Good transition across, but he does drop a little bit of a tire there before getting into that outside zone. And there he goes across that finish line, finishing run 2.
Yeah, run 2 gets him a score of a 90.3, so it doesn't better than 91. But this man here, Mustafa Amon, sitting on a 0, needs to get points on the board to try and make it into the top 32 competition today. We'll see what he can do this time around. Initiating in that GT86, getting through outer zone 1, nice and clean, holding lots of angle. Makes the transition for outer zone 2 and perfectly grabs that inside clip. And then comes a little bit wide for the second inside clip. It fills all of the next outer zone, makes the transition stick for the final outer zone, grabs that final inside clip, and pushes out, finishes out to the end.
And a good job, 92 on the board, so that does put him into the top 32, so we'll see him later today. And we move on to Abdulrahman Al-Shetwi. 88.7 on the board, needs to better it. He wants to be safe here, I believe. He's on throttle and throws that RX-8 in and drops just a little bit of a tire there through outside zone 1. Good transition, maybe a little late, but picks up the inside clip anyway as we moves through this course here quickly. Good pace, good final transition as well. Down to that inside clip and across the finish line.
And improving his score just by 1 point up to an 89.7 as we move on to our final driver and our top qualifier at the moment, Ahmed El-Harbi in that BMW sitting on a 95.3. Can he improve it? Initiates into outer zone 1 right along that track edge all through outer zone 1, transitions into outer zone 2, filling it completely. Could have been a bit deeper into that first inside clip, same with the second, but fills all of the second to last outer zone, makes the transition work, drops a bit of tire, gets through the inside clip, and pushes out and finishes out his run of qualifying.
Yeah, another strong run. And he's going to hang on to the #1 qualifying position. And I believe it is going to be Ko Fonseca to round out that top 32, to not Daryl Diaz, as again, we're missing that one score there here in the top 8. With a 94.3, so everyone starting at Maxime would move down a spot. So that is going to round out qualifying for today. Round 4, Manfeild Auto Course. And just, again, some bangers here in qualifying. We will take one small commercial break and sort the list, get the bracket generated, and we'll be right back, present the bracket. Get everybody hyped for the main event later today. So again, quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, and we are back. Thank you for tuning in today, and we've got our top 32 bracket for later today. And there's how it panned out. Ahmed Al-Harbi qualifying number 1, and he'll face Christian Petrov in the top 32. Yasir Saad and Abdulaziz Al-Harbi, Tikhon Pileski, and Ernestas Yakubis. Brandon Gardner and Victor Lecheres, Robert Kivsinski, and Samuel Cuddy, Vladislav Yakulovich, and Brandon Patrick, Artem Chelkov, and Abdul Rahman Al-Shetwi, Daniel Andreev, and Mustafa Amane. So big battles there on the left-hand side of the bracket, and then the right-hand side, Luciano Carnero qualifying second today, Caius Lunas qualifying 31st, so they'll face off in the top 32. Artem Makushenko and Masashi Yoshida, Alexander Severuk and Victor Alves, Alan Hines and Dimitri Mitten, Alexander Element and Ethan Pikachu, Connor Christensen and Zach O'Sullivan, two Supras facing off there in the top 32. Maxime Tengai and Darius Ostreka, Austin Zalewski and Shoma Takaya to round out the top 32. So we're going to take about an hour and a half break and come back at the top of the hour. So 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we'll come back. I believe that makes it 8 p.m. GMT, as they haven't changed their time just yet. We'll put that stream up as well. Schedule it earlier. And that's going to be it for us. So big shout out to everybody tuning in today. Big shout out to our sponsors as well. Sim Magic, Next Level Racing, Tire Stacks, Grip Royal, and a partnership with Joka Design helping us out with all these track objects. Look at this laptop sitting here, the VDC rulebook, and then all of the track objects you see there in front of you. Those Tire Stacks, clipping points. Joka kills it. Jonathan Simpson. Yeah, again, tune in just an hour and 32 minutes from now, and we'll see everybody then for the top 32 main event here at Manfeild Auto Course.